1956. When the woman at this dressing table finished her long day and finally went to bed, she did not simply fall into it in whatever she happened to have on. She got dressed. There was an entire outfit for sleeping, chosen and cared for and put on with intention, and there was a ritual to be performed before her head ever touched the pillow. Her name was Rita. She was 26 years old, and to her, the idea of climbing into bed in an old shirt, with her hair loose and her face bare, would have seemed not comfortable but unfinished, almost improper. Sleep, in her world, had its own wardrobe and its own rules, as particular in their way as anything she wore out into the daylight. She creamed her face, pinned her hair, and slipped into a nightgown chosen to be pretty for a room that only she and her husband would ever see. She dressed for bed. These are 15 things a 1950s woman wore and did to go to sleep, in an age when even the most private hours of the night had their own soft, elaborate, and slightly astonishing dress code. Some of it was genuinely beautiful. Some of it will make you glad you were born when you were. And all of it came down to one small, telling truth. She dressed for bed every single night. Number 8 is a garment almost no one under a certain age has ever heard of, worn for a purpose that has quietly vanished from the world. Number 1 is not a nightgown at all, and it is the simple comfort this whole lovely, exhausting ritual was missing. Now, before we go further, tap that subscribe button. You will not want to miss what is coming next. Number 15. The nightgown was a real garment. Begin with the nightgown, which was not an afterthought, but a genuine and considered piece of a woman's wardrobe. The classic gown of the era was long and graceful, often cut on the bias so it skimmed the body, with a pretty neckline and cap sleeves, or long, soft balloon sleeves. Its inspiration came in the modest versions, straight from the Victorian era, all long lines and delicate lace at the throat. A woman owned several for summer and winter, for every day and for best, and she chose among them for the night ahead exactly as she chose her clothes for the day. Number 14. Nylon changed everything. The Great Revolution in what a woman wore to bed was a material, and its name was nylon. Although it had been invented in the late 1930s, the war kept it away from ordinary women until the late 1940s. Then, in the 1950s, it flooded into the bedroom. Nylon tricot made nightgowns that were light, sheer, frilly, inexpensive, and, best of all, easy to wash and quick to dry with no ironing at all. It transformed sleepwear from something heavy and practical into something delicate and glamorous that a woman could actually afford. And it defined the look of the decade's nights. Number 13. The summer gowns and the winter ones. Just like her daytime wardrobe, a woman's nightwear changed with the seasons. For the warm months, there were the light, airy things. Rayon and satin trimmed lavishly with lace, or sheer nylon that weighed almost nothing. For winter, there was sturdy, cozy cotton, and above all, warm flannel in soft prints, made to keep out the cold of a house that was very often not heated at night, the way ours are. The glamorous sheer gown of summer and the sensible flannel gown of January were two different garments for two different halves of the year, and a woman owned both. Number 12. The peignoir set. Here is where the real glamour lived, in a thing with a beautiful French name, the peignoir set. It was a matching pair, a nightgown and a sheer, floating robe cut from the very same light material, usually nylon, chiffon, and lace, in white, or the palest pastels. The word itself, in French, referred to a pretty gown a lady wore while combing out her hair. It was frankly impractical for actual sleeping, all that delicate fabric. But it was never really the point. The peignoir set was made to be worn in the bedroom, to be lovely. And it was the height of feminine elegance after dark. Number 11. The bride's trousseau. And no peignoir was more important than the one a young woman bought to be married in. A bride assembled a trousseau, a special collection of new nightwear and lingerie, for her wedding and her honeymoon. And the centerpiece was very often a gorgeous white or pastel peignoir set, sheer and lace trimmed and romantic. This was the most significant nightwear a woman might ever own, chosen with enormous care and real expense for the most talked about nights of her young life. The wedding nightgown was a genuine tradition, and a whole small industry existed to supply it. Number 10. The baby doll. Then, in the middle of the decade, came something new, short, and a little scandalous. The baby doll nightie. It was a brief, loose, floaty little gown that skimmed out from a fitted shoulder and fell only to the upper thigh. And it came with a matching pair of ruffled bloomer shorts underneath. It was heavily trimmed with lace and ribbon, and it was worn especially in summer. It was created by an American designer who reportedly disliked the childish name it was given, and it was made famous by a 1956 film called Baby Doll. It was youthful, it was playful, and it was a genuine departure from the long and modest gowns that came before. Number 9. The two-piece pajamas. Not every woman wanted a gown, and for her, there were pajamas worn year-round. There were tailored satin and nylon sets, elegant enough for lounging, and cozy quilted ones for winter warmth, and in summer, the shorty version with cropped legs. As the decade went on, pajamas took on a fashionable international flavor, borrowing collars and prints and wide leg shapes from around the world. They came in floral prints and candy stripes and polka dots, and they offered a woman a practical, comfortable, and still pretty alternative to the nightgown. Number 8. The bed jacket. Here is the garment I promised you, the one that has very nearly vanished from human memory. The bed jacket was a short, waist-length little jacket, usually lacy or quilted or knitted, pastel or white, and it was worn over the nightgown, but not for sleeping. It was for sitting up in bed. A woman put on her bed jacket to sit propped against her pillows and read, or to have breakfast in bed, or to receive visitors while she was unwell, keeping her shoulders and arms warm and looking pretty while she did it. In an age of cold bedrooms, it was practical, and it was also charming. and it was a completely ordinary thing to own. When homes grew warm and heated through the night, the need for it simply melted away, and the bed jacket quietly disappeared. Number 7. The boudoir slippers. A woman's bare feet did not touch a cold bedroom floor. She had boudoir slippers, and the most coveted ones were pure glamour, satin or soft leather mules with a little heel trimmed with rabbit fur or marabou feathers, or with a flower or a big buckle. They were the sort of thing a film star wore padding across a beautiful bedroom, and an ordinary woman could have a pair too. A small daily touch of Hollywood softness for her own feet, waiting by the bed for her to slip into. Even her feet at bedtime were dressed with care. Number 6. The hair went up for the night. Now, the ritual, because getting dressed for bed was only half of it. A woman's beautiful set hairstyle had to be maintained, and that maintenance happened at night. Before bed, she pinned her hair into pin curls or wound it onto rollers. The whole architecture of tomorrow's hairstyle constructed on her head as she slept. It was not comfortable, sleeping on a head full of metal and bristle and pins, but it was how the smooth, set, lovely hair of the daytime was made, night after night, while she lay as still as she could manage. Number 5. And it was covered up. Over that whole apparatus of curlers went a covering, to hold it all in place and keep it neat through the tossing of the night. A woman tied on a scarf, or wore a soft hairnet, or a light sleep cap, an echo of the old-fashioned nightcap, keeping her curls set and her pins from catching on the pillow. So the head that sank onto the pillow each night was wrapped and pinned and netted, a work still very much in progress, being quietly built in the dark for the morning's grand reveal. Number 4. The face was not bare, and her face, too, was prepared rather than simply washed and left. Before bed, a woman cleansed away the day's makeup and then applied her night cream, the rich cold cream or moisturizer that was meant to do its beautifying work while she slept. Going to bed was not the end of the beauty routine, but one more station in it, another layer of effort applied in private, so that even in her sleep, a woman was, in a sense, still at work on the face she would present to the world in the morning. Number 3. It was, in part, for him. Let us be honest about one of the reasons for all this nighttime loveliness, because it is part of the truth. A great deal of the pretty nightwear, especially the sheer gowns and the delicate peignoirs and the playful baby dolls, was worn to be attractive for a woman's husband. The romance and glamour of it were genuine, and many women loved these beautiful things for their own sake. But the expectation to be alluring and lovely, even at the end of an exhausting day, to be pleasing to look at as she climbed into her own bed, was a real and particular weight, and it rested, as so much did, on her. Number 2. Even sleep was not time off. Step back and see the whole of it, because it adds up to something quietly striking. For a woman of this era, even sleep was not entirely her own. The pretty gown to be chosen and laundered, the hair to be pinned and wrapped, the face to be creamed, the whole self to be made soft and lovely and presentable before she was permitted to rest. She was, in a real sense, never fully off duty, never simply allowed to collapse into bed as she was. The performance of being a lovely woman followed her right to the edge of unconsciousness, and picked up again the moment she opened her eyes. Number 1. Not a nightgown at all. The freedom to simply sleep. So set aside the peignoir and the baby doll, and the bed jacket and the marabou slippers, and here is the small, real thing this whole beautiful ritual was missing. It is the freedom to simply go to bed, to be tired, and to stop, and to climb into bed in the soft, old, comfortable thing you love, with your hair loose and your face bare and your feet cool, and to rest without first transforming yourself into something lovely to look at, without one more round of effort standing between you and sleep. Rita dressed for bed every night of her life, and some of it she genuinely treasured. The pretty gowns, the romance, the small nightly glamour of it. But the finest thing her granddaughter would ever inherit was not the lace peignoir folded away in tissue. It was the simple permission to be tired and comfortable and entirely herself at the close of a long day, and to sleep exactly as she pleased. 15 things. A sheer nylon gown and a warm flannel one, a peignoir with a French name, a little jacket for sitting up in bed, a head full of curlers under a net, and a face creamed for the night. It looks, in the soft focus of memory, like an age of pure bedroom glamour, and much of it truly was lovely. We only forget that behind the loveliness was one more set of rules, one more costume to put on, one more performance to give at the 1 hour of the day when a woman might have simply been allowed to rest. She dressed for bed every single night and did not know that there was any other way. And somewhere right now, a woman finishes a long and tiring day and pulls on a soft, worn, enormous old shirt with a stain on the sleeve that she loves more than any beautiful thing she owns, and ties her hair up out of the way and washes her face and puts on nothing at all and climbs into her bed feeling nothing but relief. Her grandmother watches her, remembering pin curls that dug into her scalp all night, and a sheer gown chosen to be pretty in the dark, and cream on her face, and the quiet daily labor of being lovely, even in her sleep. She does not think the girl has let herself go. She thinks she looks perfectly, wonderfully comfortable, and she thinks, with a small and genuine ache, that of all the things she was never given, this simple permission to simply rest might have been the loveliest one of all. Thank you so much for watching. If this reminded you of your own mother's dressing table, or the pretty nightgown she saved for best, give it a like and tell me in the comments where in the world you are watching from and what the women in your family wore to bed. If you want more forgotten history of the generations who came before us, please subscribe. It truly helps the channel. The next story is waiting for you right now.